G'day, it's Paul from Patterson Valley Permaculture. I'm excited to introduce you to this video series, bringing a permaculture design to life. It's really great to be involved in implementing one of my designs, using the tools and the overlays that I use with my design, and it inspires me to be able to bring the piece of land to life, bringing trees and wildlife into the system using permaculture design. The following video will give you some great overviews of my design, and I hope you'll enjoy it. It's going to be a great adventure.
Okay, so this is sort of a precursor to me implementing some of the design on the site. So I'm just going to go through the design that I've created for this block. And this was a report that I put together. That's what I do when I do a design for a property. All the tools that I use. So basically I start with location, with longitude and latitude and altitude, distance from the ocean, obviously determined by what the slope is. And we start with a boundary map, and this is the first map that I create, and I build the other layers over the top of this base map, so each one goes over the top so we can see where things need to be implemented. Okay, so you can see there the sector maps overlaid over that boundary map, and there's a few interesting ones on here. Obviously you can see I've got the summer sun angles and the winter sun angles as well. There's also an element of road noise which I need to block out, a couple of beautiful view angles which I want to maintain, the outlook from the property, and then I'll get a damaging wind come from the west. This wind is quite damaging. It sort of funnels through the valley, so that is really something that I need to get in place as soon as possible. One of the things that I found with previous designs is the fact that the windbreak can take a while to get put in place. So I have a sort of system where I put banner grass in, which is like elephant grass, which is fast growing. You can get 4 meters in 12 months. And that can sort of, the succession of that then would be to acacias, and then longer life timber trees like silky oaks, casuarinas, and eucalypts. So, you know, there's obviously a transition period there, and once the banner grass has done its job, I can actually just use that as mulch and keep cutting and chopping and dropping that and mulching it down for those windbreaks. Okay, so then the contour overlay on top of that map as well, so you can see the land here. This is north, so the land is actually sloping from east to west, and there's a nice little key point here for a dam. You can see that on the map there. So by building a wall here, you can see that I would get a nice little dam or pond in this location. And it also gives you an idea of the direction that the swales will be going. Okay, some of the information about the site is very important, such as a rainfall over the year. That gives you an indication of what plants you can grow on the site and when to expect rains. Also continued to do soil tests on that site as well, and this is a nice sample of the soil. I did soil samples across several sections of the site, and it ranges between 20% clay anywhere up to 30-40% clay. But this particular average from all the sites that I mixed together, this was the mix. So it's like a nice clay loam, which is ideally really for growing plants and vegetables down this section. It is a previous floodplain by looking at the landscape. but I think as time's gone by and water's been redirected, it's flooded less and less over time. Okay, and so the zone map has been implemented over the top of this boundary map, and the property will be located in the zone 0 with the entryway there, and then we've got zone 1 in front of the property and to the rear. Zone 1 is normally the kitchen garden and herb gardens, and then got zone 2 which will be food forests and larger crops like potatoes and sweet corn and that sort of thing that don't need that much attention. Certainly not leafy greens out there. And then we've got zone 3 and we've got a zone 5. So the zone 5 is actually where my dam is, and it's quite a small area for the whole site, but it is one that I do let go to wilderness, so it's nice to have that there, somewhere I can go and sit among the trees and sit by the water. And then obviously zone 3 will be used for my animal rotations and any windbreaks in there. Okay, so here's my water design for the site. You can see I'm utilising the dam here with a solar water pump, and pumping that water out of the dam around the boundary of the property all the way around. I'm actually going to bring it up to this top edge as well to fill some irrigation for the market garden out here, and also the garden in front of the house, because using tank water on this property, we need to maintain as much of that clean water for the household. And these also will have drinking troughs. I generally put taps around the outside and then utilise those taps to top up the drinking troughs with float switches. They're not always in use. I do go around periodically and just do some maintenance on those, so you can see it's quite nicely set up. And again, this may very well come along this front edge as well, depending on what we need on the property. We have a choice. Obviously, these designs are not set in stone. We can change as we go along. I mean, it may be that the house position slightly changes and some of these elements actually change with it, but this is the sort of area we'd like it to be, so that's why I've designed around that. Okay, this is just a section on what crops can grow where. We don't need to go into that in this particular video. And some stacking functions about what I grow on some of those swales that I can put into the property, and the sort of the mid-story, the upper story, and the ground cover levels. A little bit about aquaculture on the site. Okay, so we just finished with the client brief. What people want to do with the site, what their expectations are, gives me an idea of what I can design into the system. And then we go into the main property design. Here you can see everything's laid over each other and where I've been able to design the systems in. And on this particular property, you can see I've utilised swales along the top edge of the property to start harvesting water. Now this is a water tank here off a shed in the design. This doesn't need to be put in place straight away. This is something that can be put in later, and it will be in the design, but I can certainly take this water in this swale all the way along here and capture the runoff from the property next door instead of it just going into this dam, I capture it and soak and spread across the property. And I've got a second swale that's also feeding the dam going across the property here, and then the overflow from the dam going across this way, and I'm also going to put one in that runs to the south as well. It just gives me better growing conditions for different trees. And obviously this whole area here will be would be windbreaks, so part of the design you can see the damaging winds come from this direction. Here's the property, so we want to maintain this windbreak for any crops that we're growing, so the windbreaks will be down here. And we want to make sure there's no tall trees for this summer sun angle here to the house and the growing area for the crops. the road noise coming from this direction. You can see that I've just designed in a short hedge here around sort of, it's probably a 3 to 4 meter hedge of fruit trees and some acacias. I'm also going to put in, along this front edge here, I'm going to put some native grevilleas where they will attract bird life, as well as creating a screen from that road. Just a second noise screen. Again, you can see that the views are being maintained out of the property and out of the rear, so you can see there's a nice view over the dam there and overlooking the market garden to the rear. And we can go into some slightly more detail about some of the edges of the property, the dam and the zone 5, and the windbreaks and the design and the structure of those, including using the banner grasses as quick hedges, the silky oaks and the casuarinas. You can see the way that works in this picture here, and that works along the edge of that property all the way along here. And again, this is the zones and trees and plants that I can actually put into those areas. Do a long list for the client, or in this case myself, and we can see it's quite a comprehensive document with lots of information for the homeowner. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. In the next future videos, I'll be going into implementing some of these elements of this design onto the land. It's always good to walk through the land and understand what's happening. It's good to have a contour map and photos of the site, but you can never underestimate walking on the property to get the design right. So there may be some elements of this design that change, but we'll see. You can join me on that as we go through this journey. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.